If you want to check us out on all of our social media platforms, on Twitter at TinfoilHatCast,
On Instagram at tinfoilhatpod.
or allcomedyt-shirts.com.
Email us at tinfoilhatpod@gmail.com.
Tinfoil hat.
People everywhere.
Tinfoil hat.
Hey man, we're spitting truth there, dog.
Tinfoil hat.
Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Revolution will be podcasted.
Yes. Yes, the revolution will be podcasted. We are the truth. We drop those hammers. Shout out to all the people out there giving all the truth out there. The Higher Side Chats, those conspiracy guys, Grimerica, Conspiracy Farm, all that.
Freeman Fly TV.
Freeman Fly TV. We got him coming on September 10th. That's the sound of our good friend Ryan Davis jizzing in his pants. He's very excited about that. We got a great guest on for you. But before, let's get into the business, guys. We got some huge shows coming up. September 5th, the Tinfoil Hat Comedy Night will be at the Belly Room. There's only probably about 20 tickets left for that. It's in the Belly Room. We got Theo Vaughn, Eddie Bravo, Off the Grid will be there, myself, and our good friend Aaron. Aaron will be there answering your questions and telling you how everything we talked about can't be true. And then after that, September 14th and 15th, we are at the Comedy Corner that's it. Comedy Corner in Niagara Falls. That's right. Eddie Bravo, myself. Off the Grid's a felon, can't go. God damn you, you Canucks.
Heyo.
Right? But we're going to be there. Tickets are moving. We're very excited. How do I know tickets are moving? Because nobody's hit me up telling me tickets aren't moving. Tickets are, in fact, moving. We're very excited about that. And then the following month, October 14th and 15th, October 12th and 14th. October 12th, we are at the Philadelphia Punchline. That's right. Philadelphia Punchline with Tinfoil Hat is a Friday at 10 p.m. show. And then that Sunday, I'm back in the 607 and the 315. We're going to be doing the Funny Bone. So if you're in upstate New York, go grab those tickets now. Make sure we show up in droves because my mom will be there. And she's already nervous about lizard people. So we have to show her there's an army to fight those goddamn serpents. And after much to do, we are back at All Comedy T-shirts. Our T-shirts soon should be up on the website. Grab your T-shirts. It's a great way to support the show. And, of course, the Patreon. I know a lot of you guys found the last episode quite interesting where I interviewed an alien medium. And all you guys think I was just trying to get laid. I tell you I was not. I thought it was an interesting conversation, and sometimes they go into interesting realms. But last night we had a great podcast. Good friend Ryan Davis, he worked on a whole show, and we got to know none of it because me and my friend Matt just screamed at each other for a half an hour. So if you want to listen to two men in the 40s yell about Trump versus the deep state, check that out. It's a wonderful episode. So that's the business.
Heyo.
That's the bit. How are you, Ryan?
Living, loving, man. We've been looking forward to the return of this guest ever since he left us. Man.
We were supposed to have him on last week due to my effing up, okay? Because I don't have an assistant. No one's helping me. So we messed up, but it ended up being a good episode with the Chinese episode that everybody seemed to really love. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So this guy was nice enough to move back. He was literally going to do our show to the 1-year anniversary of doing the show.
That's right.
But, it didn't happen on that, so we're proud to have him back up. Do you want to introduce him?
Yeah, I mean, you've heard him before when we talked about the Rothschilds, and now we're going to talk about something else nefarious. And so you heard most recently on the Higher Side Chats. Welcome back to Tinfoil Hat, Magnora 7.
Magnora 7, how are you, bud?
Hey, Sam and Ryan, how you guys doing?
Very good.
Thank you for coming on, buddy. Again, I know it's been a year. Why the name Magnora 7?
I don't know, honestly. I made it up on the spot like 5 years ago. I retired an old name I had, and I just made that up, and it stuck, so I've stuck with it.
Magnora, what is Magnora? Do we even know what is that?
It's I literally chose the thing that had the least Google matches that I could come up with. So I just went for something as unique as I could come up with, and that was what I came up with. But
wow. So what do you Google least Googled thing ever?
I was just like trying all these names and Googling them and see which had the least results and so on. So, but apparently there's some company now named Magnora or something. I don't know if they stole it from me or what, but it's kind of funny.
I thought we had a lot more in common. I thought maybe it stood for magnums and 7 inches.
Oh.
But I guess
Yeah.
Alex, I'll take things that don't go together. Magnums and 7 inches. Listen, dude, we have a lady in the room. Let's not talk about
I forgot.
penis sizes.
yeah, that's right. When we told Aaron,
Is that a
today's
red
guest-
light or is that a green light, by the way? What is that, red light or a green light?
They gave her a water bottle to spray us like we were like feral
great.
cats. So
I
it's
like
okay.
that. I like that. So tell us about your new website too. I don't know if it's new, but I know you've been growing. I think you were doing it last time you were on. It's
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a competition to Reddit, but it is an alternative to Reddit.
Yeah, it's a good way to say it. It's an alternative. Reddit's kind of had problems for a while. It's kind of been decaying. There's a lot of moderator corruption. Well, they'll push certain viewpoints and delete other viewpoints, so it creates this kind of censored environment. So SETA is basically a response to that. So it's like the old style of Reddit with the old source code. And but it's hopefully we're kind of bringing back the old spirit of how Reddit was like 6 years ago when Aaron Swartz was still around, before he was suicided.
Really?
Yeah, he was one of the 3 main founders of Reddit, and they bought the other ones off, but he was found hanging from a doorknob in
my God. Now,
Yeah.
do you guys have an app for this website yet?
we're actually developing it right now. It should hopefully come out in a week or 2, and we're going to keep refining it and making it better. So yeah, pretty soon we should come out with the Android app, and then the iOS app will probably come out in a couple months.
Why Android first? Is it just cheaper to do that?
It's easier to develop, and our developer we have is used to working with Android stuff, but we did it in this program called Xamarin, which does both actually. So it's real kind of easy for us to spit out both, but you got to get it in the store, and there's all this approval process, so it kind of takes a while. So we're doing Android first.
Can I buy $20 worth of stock in this company?
No, we should have stuff. We should do a little private offering. And
Yeah, let me get in on that, dude. I want to be. Do you guys know if you would have done? I don't know where you live, and we're not gonna disclose that at this point. But wherever you live, do they have those? Well, those birds, are those called birds? Those skateboard things?
Oh yeah, those little electric scooters.
Yeah.
Little like.
Well, if you would have gone there and just been like, "Hey, can I sweep the floor?" They would give you stock, and now. They got $400 million in capital cash to build the thing all over the world.
Yeah.
There's a
Amazing,
janitor out there going, "Yeah, dog," he's making cash.
It probably happened at some of the tech companies too during the first tech boom.
Hey, if you're a tech company, you need a janitor, hit me up, dude. I will janitor for fucking stock. So I listened to your episode. To be honest with you, I don't listen to a lot of any kind of podcast outside of a couple sports ones. I should listen to my friend's podcast a little bit more. I listen to everybody's here and there. Ryan will be like, "Oh, you got to check out this episode. It's really good." And, today I was listening to your appearance on Greg Carlwood's podcast, and, it's one of my favorites. And, wow,
thanks.
A lot of great information coming out on that. And one of the topics that you touched on was the Black Cube special intelligence agency, a private agency, and
Right.
and all that stuff. What a interesting world we weave. So why don't we get into it?
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Ryan, you want to kick us off with a little stuff, and then we'll get into
Let's
it?
definitely start there. That's a great starting point. Let's unpack it all. For those
Yeah.
that don't know, go ahead and lay it all out for them. What is the Black Cube? The
So-
best. It's creative, correct?
Yeah, so Black Cube is it's a company that was started in 2010. So it's a pretty recent company, but it's all former Israeli intelligence operatives basically, and they've only got like 100 or so employees, but it's a very powerful company. And the reason it came up in the first place was we were talking about all these kind of coincidental suicides that may not have been suicides, and one of which was Anthony Bourdain that we were focused on for a while. And part of that, we were talking about Asia Argento's his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, who was caught, cheating in Italy with some other guy, and they were saying that was maybe the reason that Bourdain killed himself. But anyways, Harvey Weinstein, who Asia Argento was one of the first accusers of this whole Me Too thing. Harvey Weinstein hired Black Cube to defend him, and that's kind of where we started talking about this. So
let's. So it's very interesting how much of this. It's such a deep world of like. I mean, like, let's just look into this whole Me Too movement. It's like there's it's so honorable. Like, hey, man, we got to make it so women can come to work and not get sexually harassed. After we just did a Magnum joke with our soundboard lady, but after that, right? I mean, we all go, okay, that's an honorable thing. Like, we should have a place where women can come to work and not have to get, hit on constantly. And then, it starts off as like, the grab her by the pussy kind of launches this movement, right? And this notion that guys think they can just grab girls by the crotches and women have to put up with it. And then we find out that video is put out by Matt Lawler, and we talked about this on past episodes. Matt Lawler puts that out and finds out he has a rape desk where he has a button he can just push and doesn't allow women to leave his room. I mean, and now with this Asia thing, that's just, to me, insanity, and you guys kind of talked about it on Greg's podcast about like how much at the highest elite levels, how much sexual deviance this is. I do want to do an episode called Cuckapalooza, right? Where we just kind of get into like how many kids of famous people that's probably not their dad. It's most likely not their dad. And that they're all just kind of everybody at that highest level is kind of like the town bike, and everybody's riding them, and whoever gets stuck with and then you got to force this lie out. And so we get to Asia, and it turns out she's shady. She's got
just
some
this
shit.
last week it came out. Yeah, she was abusing some like 17-year-old guy, and then they settled out of court for like $380,000. But she was like the spearhead of the Me Too thing, or one of the spearheads, and then now she's done the same thing that she is trying to accuse Weinstein of, basically.
It's so interesting, right? And it's just like, it's not even that she just had sex with a 17-year-old boy, because if that was it, I think we'd all be like, okay, dude. I mean, I remember when I was 17, if a 35-year-old woman wanted me to hit it, I would have knocked it out of the park because I'm a champion, right? But you look at like her timeline, like this woman's been stalking this kid for like ever. Like had him in movies, done all this stuff. Like there's some pictures of him when he's like really young, and she's like, boo, I love you, boo. And then somebody found a video of her, like she was like filming little girls in the pool, and they must have been preteens because some of them didn't even have and this is all on Instagram, and they're super young, and it says, I see you, baby, shaking that ass. And you're like, and we got this thing in this country where it's very hard for us to see females as predators.
But I think this whole Me Too movement and the quote "grab her by the pussy" is now making it creeps are creeps. We're now finding out with this, doesn't matter if you got X or Y chromosome, that shit goes across.
Well, especially like with women, where they're constantly fighting off men trying to hook up with them, and the notion they want to hook up with somebody, and then society saying you can't do it. They're like, what did I? Every single hot teacher that gets arrested, they have the same mugshot. Like, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? Did I do something wrong? Because life has always been like, oh yeah, let's hook up. Everybody wants to hook up with me. It's a very interesting run. So this brings us back to the Black Cube, where they, Harvey Weinstein uses this Black Cube group, which is like former Israeli Mossad intelligence.
Yeah, and to know about that, I really looked into I like to find out what these companies, like who's on their international advisory board. Those boring things that you look at like in the foyer of like some building. You look at those names and you'll be like, oh, what? So I'm just going to give you this is a good place to start, because here's a few sinister knuckleheads to begin with. One, he's now dead. He died in 2016, but still good to mention. His name is Meir Dagan. He's the former head of Mossad, and he was the honorary president of the board. So for those who don't know what Mossad is, that's the CIA for Israeli.
There's no more deep state than that.
So that's starting out. Then we got Major General, I'm going to butcher all these because they're very much, but Giora Eland, he's a former head of the Israeli National Security Council. So we're now doubled up. Lieutenant Colonel Ifi Yerhamli, former head of Unit FO4. It's the Israeli Special Forces. We got Dorian Alberry, former director of Israeli Tax Authority.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
No joke here. How awesome of a tax guy are you that you're in charge of Israel's taxes? All right, so that's the fucking right now. Ari Shafir, his like Jew antenna just started vibrating. Now he's like, what?
Yeah.
So
Well, it's like, a few years ago they talked about like the IRS going after like Obama's political opponents or whatever. Like, I got to imagine, what is this guy doing? Like.
Oh, for sure, dude.
this is the one that caught my attention. His name is Paul Rainers, former partner of Price Waterhouse. Price Waterhouse is it's a money magic firm based out of London, which we know about London, Sam. It's a network of firms in 158 countries, 743 locations with 236,000 people globally. Think vampires, but instead of money, instead of blood, we're thinking money. Oh, well, maybe a little bit of both.
Oh, my God.
So this is the type of people they got. And, of course, a member of Microsoft's customer advisory board because you can't do anything without Bing being involved.
Yep. Bing?
Yeah. You don't Bing things, man?
I don't Bing things.
We're bringing it back, dude. We're bringing it back.
What is Bing.com? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Google's competition that isn't really its competition at all.
This is our like hidden little Bing commercial that we're going to send them. You guys,
Bing, brought to you by Bing. I mean, obviously, this is the who's who of like
and
deep.
to round it off, former Israeli police commissioner himself.
Yeah.
So what the fuck? What countries?
It's like the head of the police, head of the tax, head of national security, head of Secret Service, head of intelligence. Like, these are all in the same organization. Like, that's weird.
Unbelievable.
That's why it's important not just to say Israelis, like, you got to really find out that they actually are Israeli as Mossad as it gets,
We've done stuff on the black cube, but why don't you give us a little bit of the symbolic meaning of the black cube?
Yeah, let's talk about that. That's something actually you mentioned, Sam, when I was here last time. You went on a little rant about Black Cube, and it kind of got me interested in thinking about this subject more.
Oh, I did that?
So,
yeah. Dude, I love influencing the people who influence me.
But yeah, it's all over the place. I mean, my first thought is the Islam religion. They all do the pilgrimage, the Hajj,
which just happened just a little while ago, I believe.
Right,
like
with last week, I think. Yeah. I think I would have actually been on when it was happening had I been on last week.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, it's just like a black box, like a room, and everybody goes in Mecca, in the center of Mecca, and walks around this thing. I'm sure everyone's seen pictures of it.
Isn't it like 8 times counterclockwise? Like it's a certain way you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and then you can stay in a Bin Laden-owned hotel right next to it because they've bought out this whole pilgrimage thing and commoditized it, and it's all the Bin Laden group owns it.
Now, is this in Mecca?
Yeah, this is Mecca.
Mecca is where this cube is. It's there all year round, but once a year, as a Muslim, you're supposed to make a pilgrim to Mecca to show love to the black cube, which supposedly the rumor is that there's actually asteroid in there or like some kind of something inside this thing.
I've looked at pictures and it's just like it's like a 2-story thing, and there's like a downstairs room and an upstairs room. And I guess, I don't know, people probably hang out in there while the Hajj is going on and feel important about themselves or something. I don't know.
Oh, look at that. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Right now, Ryan's pulled up a couple Google, and it's kind of got like a little room. It's like almost, it's, you know what that looks like? When you ever go to the Hard Rock Casino in Vegas and you get like your own little like cabana, that's what this looks like. It looks like a cabana in Mecca where the really rich guys hang out and everybody parties around them, right?
Yeah, it's like a little 200 square foot, like 2-story room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's supposedly some, and the rule is with Mecca, and I don't know if it's only during this time or all time, that only Muslims are allowed to go to Mecca.
Totally, yeah. And in fact, if you're in Saudi Arabia and you drive down the highway, there are certain exits that say Muslims only can take this highway exit, because it goes into Mecca areas.
Oh, is that it? That's where it is?
Yeah, so the corner of the actual Kaaba, it's called the Kaaba stone. That's what this black cube is called in Islamic faith. At the corner of it, it houses what looks like a space vagina. It's like metal, and in the center there is a broken piece. I believe it's now broken into 7 pieces. And I think it was the 900s is when there was some sort of invading forces. They got the stone and they broke it up. The reason this stone is super important is supposed to come around the time when Adam and Eve were around and this fell from the sky. So no
Yeah.
one ever really tells you that the Islamic faith is based off of a space rock that they worship. Which
Oh,
is-
that's interesting.
That is crazy, right?
I didn't know that.
And then it ties back to the color black and gold. And the cube itself. This is tied to Saturn worship.
Right.
So
yeah.
that-
So that's another thing. Is the planet of Saturn? If you look at it on the top of the planet, it has a hexagon. It's a very odd atmospheric formation, but it's kind of like the North Pole of Saturn. But it's the wind vortices work out in a way where you end up with a black hexagon on the very top of Saturn. And if you view a cube on its corner straight on, it appears as a hexagon.
I'm glad we made you go down further rabbit holes.
Well, it's very. They all like kind of somewhat like go all the major religions go back to the black cube in a weird way, right?
Well, I've heard the Christian cross can be represented as an unfolded cube.
Yes.
That's a bit like there's a Dali painting called Tesseract where he paints the cube as like a hypercube. Paints the cross as Jesus being crucified on a hypercube. But yeah, so there's the kind of, so there's the, and then the cube, the cube has 6 sides, and there's a lot of influence in the number 6 in Israeli imagery, Jewish imagery, like the Star of David is a 6-pointed star, and there's 6 kind of is a recurring theme in a lot of Jewish religious texts and stuff. So you've got the original Jewish and the Christianity and Islam later all kind of referencing this black cube in a way.
Oh wow, dude! I never even knew that. I've always
really?
heard it, but I never knew that how that worked. And then we just pulled up a diagram of basically how the Star of David fits into the black cube. Wow. Oh, and then you have that one up top. Yep. Look at that, dude. That's
Interesting.
incredible.
Coincidental or
Yeah.
I don't think anything.
I mean, it could be like someone came up with these explanations later and kind of like applied them backward to explain the past. But it's probably a little of both, honestly.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So the black cube, Saturn, the black box. Tell us a little bit about. Yeah. Go on.
Black box is a good phrase too. I think black cube it brings to mind a black box, and in engineering, a black box is a thing where you don't know what's going on inside. You don't know how it works. You just know the inputs and the outputs, and what goes on inside is a mystery.
It's almost like let's make a deal, right? Like what's behind in the black box?
yeah. So it's like. It kind of implies that the company does things for you. You give it money, and it does outputs, but you don't need to know what's really going on inside.
Oh yeah, dude. This
you don't
is
need to know
some
the internal.
Ray Donovan shit right here, dude. This is straight up Ray Donovan, dude. Like, hey, I'm gonna get shit done. How I get done, don't worry about it. Just know it's gonna get done.
It's also like, what are we going to name our security firm? I don't know, something super sinister.
Yeah.
Oh, I got an idea.
Like and weird. And I mean, if you search Black Cube. Like on Google, you get like a million other things, so it's a very like well hidden kind of name, kind of like Alphabet for Google. Like there's so many uses of the word alphabet, like it's almost hard to search for it.
That's so interesting. So it's a private company. Tell us a little bit about the company.
Yeah, so the company works in Tel Aviv. That's their main Israel headquarters. And then they are in London and Paris as well. And Paris is where Anthony Bourdain died. So they've got, like we said, we have former intelligence from Mossad, but they've also got people from Amman, which is the military's intelligence body, which was formed in 1950, and Mossad was formed in 1949.
So let me ask you, what do you mean military intelligence body of what? Of Israel or just in general?
Of the military of Israel. It's the intelligence of the military of Israel. Yeah.
Wow.
And then thirdly, there's another Israeli intelligence agency called Shin Bet, which is also called Shabak, which is how they pronounce the acronym in Hebrew, I guess. But Shabak is called the Unseen Shield, and it's Israel's internal security service, and it's kind of like a secret security or secret service kind of organization. But that was founded in 1949 as well. So you got the Mossad and Shin Bet in 49, and then Amman in 50. So all these were just set up like within 2 years of each other. And
Holy shit, man! So the Black Cube's always been around for only 8 years.
Yeah, Black Cube was 2010 is when it was founded. So it's brand new, but it's full of these people. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a shell company, like FBI and stuff will create these companies like front companies and then do stuff with them, and then that company becomes discredited, and then they just close down the company and everybody like moves to a different company or whatever.
Yeah, think about Blackwater. Just change the name, rebrand.
Exactly. Yeah. XE and then Academy, they renamed themselves. And yeah, I think Black Box is probably it's just a front company and they're going to do a bunch of dirty shit with it. And then they'll shut it down like 5-10 years from now and then pretend like nothing happened.
Oh my God.
And call it something completely opposite, like White Globe.
Yeah, this is complete cloak
Yeah.
and dagger shit, dude. Cloak and dagger shit.
Well, it's just like Monsanto. I mean, it starts coming out in all these courts that glyphosate is cancerous, and then all of a sudden they merge with Bayer and retire the Monsanto name, so now everything's just Bayer.
And I love that Bayer is the only chemical company that's still around that actually worked with Nazi Germany. They actually produced Zyklon B. They made the gas during the final solution.
It's unbelievable how
Wow.
money and power allows you not to deal with the ramifications of your actions.
Hey,
Yeah,
Bayer
that's
invented heroin, which is another episode coming down the way. We just got to find the right ex-heroin rock and roll guy hanging around Hollywood.
Yeah, that's interesting because they used to give heroin in hospitals. Heroin's a brand name made by Bayer. And then it became an illegal drug, and now they use morphine, which is just an analogous compound but slightly modified. But morphine is legal, and they use it in hospitals all the time. But then heroin, which is basically an analogous drug that was 50 years earlier, is now like super illegal.
Oh my God.
OxyContin. Now we got fentanyl. Just
yeah.
Are they the same
rebranding.
thing though, dude?
Just you just amp it
But I
up.
thought fentanyl, you take the small spit, you're dead. Like it's just
Yes.
a kill machine.
Fentanyl's like
Yeah.
dabs. For
Dabs
heroin.
for death.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more like poison.
So eight. Okay, I have you some of your notes. Black Cube's main business is basically.
Yeah, they call it litigation support, which is like basically they help court trials go in certain ways, and that can mean a whole lot of things.
Oh yeah.
So, and obviously they take probably the most liberal definition of that they can. So, yeah, it says they provide intelligence, evidence, and advisory services in multi-jurisdictional, aka global, legal and criminal cases. So, and they have a policy to like never talk about anything basically. Like they have an in-company policy that they've stated that we just don't disclose any information unless we have to, but we quote unquote, operate inside the law within all jurisdictions we operate in. But yeah, I'm sure that's,
Oh my.
Yeah, and I love the largest shareholder of this also happens to be one of the largest shareholders of something that we've recently talked about, which is Cambridge Analytica.
Oh
Yeah.
really?
You want to tell us about?
Well, yeah, so one of their big customers is this guy, Vincent Chungwiz, TCHENGUIZ. Vincent Chungwiz is the largest holder of Cambridge Analytica, yeah, which was Trump's like PR propaganda internet machine, basically. That
Yeah.
spammed 4chan and spammed Reddit and Facebook and everything. I mean, Hillary had Share Blue and Trump had Cambridge Analytica. They're just two sides of the same coin. But it's these giant farms of people posting on the internet pretending to be real people or having 50 accounts each and pretending to be real people, and they can create the appearance of consensus in a crowd when there isn't any. And they sway people.
They
that way.
basically specialize in astroturfing, right? Basically
Yeah.
making
Yeah,
it
exactly.
seem like this is a grassroots movement when it is not at all. It's
Precisely.
so diabolical. And
Yeah.
I believe in my hearts of hearts that social media was simply created to in fact do that. To in fact create fake fucking movements, whether it's positive for business or outrage to get people's shift focus, done on purpose. Because when you look into Facebook, Twitter, almost any other these huge websites of social media, there is a dark hand involved, a dark arts, deep state, whether it's CIA or FBI, that helped create this stuff. And it's so interesting to me.
And you could make the same argument about television and radio
For
and other mass
sure.
communication. I mean, a lot of them actually, maybe you could say at first, kind of start opening people's eyes, and then like the people in power start realizing like, hey, this is like showing people stuff we don't want them to be shown, and then they like kind of harness it in, and then they've got it reined in real tight for a few decades, and then a new technology comes out and they have to like start the process over again. So I kind of personally feel like they've just really figured out how to game the internet in the last like 10 or 15 years. They've just really started being like, oh, we can actually just like completely take over message boards and stuff whenever we want. And,
well, the last 2 years, there's been an effort to control it even more.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. The election was nuts. The 2016 election, the internet became a madhouse because of these fucking organizations, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the
it's
government, the U.S.
ridiculous.
government passed a propaganda bill that allowed them to use propaganda. So literally, I would tell you, over the last 2 years, we have seen a movement to, when Alex Jones calls it the info war, and I'm not an Alex Jones guy, he can do his own thing. It's
Yeah.
not my thing, but when he calls it info war, I mean, he was so ahead of the time on that because
Yeah.
it is literally an information war.
Yeah, it's completely true. Yeah, because it's like if you control what the people believe, then you control what they do. And it's just as simple as that. I mean, if people believe in the idea of like America's the best country ever, then they will defend a war if we get attacked. It's like that kind of thing. It's all about priming people's mindsets to be in the right kind of context. So when something does happen, the populace is already known to probably react in the way they want people to react. So yeah, it's just like a honing system. It's like you're training the herd. If you're one of these billionaire guys, I mean, that's basically the effect of the media. And
Yeah.
then you're someone like Jeff Bezos, and you just buy like the Washington Post, and then you can just print,
And make a
pro-corporate
deal with the
propaganda.
CIA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's,
I mean, like do you guys think that they paid him $600 million to basically control the Washington Post? Or do you think it had something to do with him creating Alexa and just putting it in everybody's houses? Like that famous meme that went around where it's like in the 1950s, like, hey, don't talk about that. The government's probably wiretapping our phone. To today, hey, hey, wiretap, give me a recipe for spaghetti, right?
yeah.
I was thinking
Yeah.
we should probably start podcasting with Alexa. Like, just bring her in as our third person.
That's hilarious, dude.
We'll just ask her a million questions.
We should totally do that,
That's one of
dude.
my ideas.
We'll get one and we'll make Alexa the third person on our podcast. But and they also realize they've studied people so much that they realize like within this show, right? We are constantly having debates. By we, I mean me, having constantly debates with people who believe none of this. And no matter how much information I bring, they don't want to believe it because their sources will never tell them all this stuff. And what they've realized is these people can get, when people research something that they don't want to believe in, they're actually looking for reasons not to believe it than actual looking for any information to believe it. So
Yeah.
when you go to a website, it will literally say in the title of the fucking article, debunked, blah, 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 conspiracy, does not true. And nobody reads it. They get the information they want from that title, and they're like, look, dude, look at
Yeah.
this. Fucking Time Magazine says that Q's full of shit, regardless of what you think of Q. He says it's been debunked and it's not real. Or like pedogay. It's been debunked, dude. Look at this article. It says debunked fucking pedogay. Doesn't make any sense. And they don't even
Yeah.
read the article or look for anything that might say this is real.
Yeah.
Yep. It's confirmation bias. It's so rampant.
And then
Yeah.
everybody's looking for Russians when what's basically come out, this Cambridge Analytica guys were even way worse than anything we thought Russia was doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and everyone just kind of turns a blind eye. I mean, it just really shows how well the media can control people's outrage. Not everyone, but like a lot of people like really just buy whatever the news media puts out, and they don't think like this is a corporation trying to influence me to behave certain ways. And like, it's hard to step outside that context. Like I was just having this discussion, the local news, whenever you watch it, what they spend time focusing on shows you what you think their priorities should be. Like they're trying to tell you this is important by spending 10 minutes on it, and this
Yeah.
is not important by only spending 30 seconds on it.
Yeah.
But they just completely gloss over important stories as if they're nothing, and then they spend like very long amounts of time focusing on nonsense, like just trivial nonsense. And it's amazing to me how many people like don't put that together and just step back and be like, hey, this is not in proportion. Like this is trying to influence. It's kind of a subtle way to influence people because you're not like telling them anything or denying them anything. It's all about the amount of time you spend on everything. Like where's your focus at?
I
And
saw a
it's got-
guy wearing a hat that made me think of our topic today. He was wearing a hat that said, "Make Orwell fiction again."
That's a great hat, dude. And and what happens is you see this happen so much that they ignore a story for so long, and then it gets so big on the internet that they have to acknowledge it, or else the facade of that there's a real news agency completely crashes and burns.
Oh, yeah.
Right, exactly.
And with the shooting in Jacksonville, and we'll get back to Black Cube. It's just like we've been doing stories on false flags forever, and false flag versus hoax. Hoax, nobody dies. False flag, somebody 100% die. But once again, what's going on in there during this fucking shooting? What's going on?
Drills.
A drill is going on. The local news acknowledges a drill going on, and you're like, okay, it by itself doesn't mean anything when every single time these high impact events happen in the news, there's a fucking drill going on. That's a sign of something.
Or the closed circuit televisions won't work. All the cameras, the ATMs nearby, because that's how it happens too. They happen to go down. There's a little glitch in the system at the exact same time.
So we have go on, sir. Sorry.
This is like that goddamn New Mexico compound where they found those people training those kids to be like school shooters for Islam, like in New Mexico.
We've been waiting for someone to mention this because if we talk about it, we already wear tinfoil hats. So go on,
But so like the people get arrested, and then the judge just lets them off with like basically no bail. It's like $20,000 bail, but it's a special kind of bail they don't have to pay till later. So it was literally zero bail. So the guy gets out zero bail. They found a child skeleton in the tunnels underneath this compound.
His kid.
Clearly, like some kid had died, and they'd like hidden him down there, and then they let the guys out, and then they bulldoze the entire place, destroy all the evidence, like 3 days later, and the judge lets them off, and then like that's it. And then the news media just kind of like, oh yeah, oh, this happened. Okay, on to the next story. It's like, no, dude, like there's like a fucking ISIS training compound in New Mexico that was covered by the FBI. The local police had to go over the heads of the FBI because the FBI was ignoring them. So they had to like go over the heads of the FBI and talk to some other federal agency who finally gave a shit. And then like it just all gets kind of paved over and disappears overnight. And then the news media just is like,
moving right along. That's all they're fucking doing.
It's like, but you remember Boko Haram when they kidnapped all those kids in like Africa or whatever? The media wouldn't shut up about that for like months, and it was terrible.
Yep.
But it's like this is just as bad, but it's in the United States. And it's like, how is this not like the story of the year? I mean, this should be like huge, but it's just passing. It's talked about in passing. It's so ridiculous.
You know what? Would have changed that story if those kids were transsexual.
Yeah, for sure. Keeping trans kids in. What about, and we'll get back to the Black Cube, but what about the information that just came out that the wife of Stephen Paddock was basically, she applied for a loan and she put down her employer was the FBI.
Oh, wow.
Out of Florida.
Maybe that's one of those goofs, like when you Venmo people money and you say for a BJ and it's like really to your brother, But
I don't know, man. I mean, like that's very specific, dude. That's very specific. If I'm busted for hiring gay hookers, and then you're like, oh, he always says like that's a little weary. Then straight dude, asking for jokingly BJ. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know what you're saying. I heard this story yesterday. They found 2 tons of cocaine. And it had a United Russia logo on the cocaine. And I'm like, who ships 2 tons of cocaine with their goddamn logo on the cocaine? Like, that seems like either a setup to me, like they're trying to take down the people who they put the logo in, or maybe just those guys are just that confident that they just like need to put I don't know. But
or that thing is meant to get caught, and then everyone's like, look, it says Russia again.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, and then dumb people just run with that. Look, dude, they're shipping cocaine. And they're trying to get everybody on the top. It's like.
And meanwhile, it's actually like the CIA.
Yeah, the you know what they tried to do for like 2 seconds, and it was so outrageous. Everyone's like. It's like when they're like, the Russians are funding the NRA guys. They're funding them. They're sending them money so that you don't want to give up guns. You're like, that's the most bizarro thing I've ever heard in my why would a country that has problems with us want our population to be able to keep their guns? It logically makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, there's so much freaking out about this Russia stuff. I feel like we're living through McCarthyism again, but this time it's the Democrats instead of the Republicans.
This is the left's version of 9/11. This really is. This is the left's version of fucking weapons of mass destruction, where the right bought into chemical weapon and the fucking nukes in fucking Iraq, and we're all behind war. Now the left is buying and you could go, okay, 9/11 hits. There's an emotional response to that. I can respect that people are like, we need answers. We want blood. There's, in a weird way, you can understand the emotional effect of that. This Russian thing is just straight up simply, they are sore losers. They are sore losers, and they can't even. And when you bring up the primary, which she's so obviously fucking rigged, they have no answer for that.
Right, or the fact that like Qatar funded like 20% of Hillary's campaign. Like, where's the outrage about that? That's just like the Russia thing. Like,
it's so ridiculous,
so insane. It's obviously a political ploy, and the longer it goes on, I think more people are like, hey, this actually doesn't make all that much sense. And I mean, there is a little nugget of something there, but it's like talking about it as if it's exclusively Trump and Russia, and it's not like some widespread problem that's been going on for 30 years with like hundreds of countries. Like, it's not like this is like a new thing. Like, it's just like a continuation of this path that we've been on for a long time. I'm glad people are waking up to that, but like acting as if it's all Trump's fault is just ridiculous.
Dude, if you go to a pig farm, you're gonna find pig shit. Okay? So it's just a fact. So if you're going to go to Washington, D.C. looking for corruption, throw a cat, hit somebody, that's a corrupt person. So this stuff that they're getting on Manafort, it's all about when he worked with the Podesta group, okay? And this stuff about fucking Cohen, it's all tax evasion. His lawyer, this Laney Davis guy, right, is a fucking registered foreign agent for the Ukrainian government. Who works with who? Hillary Clinton. I mean, like, dude, it's like if you do the actual research.
You want to talk about foreign influence? We have like 35 congressmen that have dual citizenship.
I don't know how that's legal, dude. I have no clue how that's legal.
And it's all to the same country, and it's not Russia.
And I can't go to Canada because I earned my DUI. But
it's ridiculous. Let's get back into the black cube.
Anyway, so
Romania.
Let's
get into Romania. What did they do in Romania?
Oh, okay. So in Romania,
did you have more? Hold on. Did you have more on Cambridge Analytica?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say more on Vincent as well. Vincent, the major shareholder. Yeah, so he's got like a 130-foot yacht named Veni Vidi Vici, which means I came, I saw, I conquered, which is very egotistical. His family also owns a building with outdated fireproofing. You remember the London Grenfell Tower fire? It killed 72 people last year.
Yeah.
He owns that?
No, he doesn't own that, but he owns a building that is exactly like that with the same fireproof cladding that isn't being replaced. And he refuses to replace it, and he also tried to make the tenants pay for the replacement cost by like suing the tenants. So, guy's a real piece of work.
And what about the fact that everybody in that tower that went down was told to go back inside?
Oh, really? Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it was a very famous case. They were go back inside. Don't worry. While the place is fucking burning, dude. They wanted to clean out that area, dude.
That's how prim and proper the British are. Like, right, okay.
Follow the rules, even if it's on fire.
It's a little hot.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but this guy, so this Vincent Chungwa's guy, he's Iranian-born London businessman, and then he also allegedly had a role in collapsing the Icelandic bank cap thing, which was nationalized to the Icelandic government during the banking crisis of 2008. So he somehow he got a big enough foothold in Icelandic banking that he was like playing a role in bringing those down too. So in 2011, 1 year after it was founded, Vincent hired Black Cube. Vincent tried to do a lawsuit, and it ended up failing. And then Black Cube sued Vincent for not paying his bills, and then Vincent sued Black Cube for overcharging him. And then their countersuits like balanced each other out, and then they settled out of court for undisclosed details.
Dude, you have to have balls to sue Black Cube.
Yeah, Black Cube sued him in London, and then he countersued them in Israel, which was interesting.
Well, it's like how the Church of Scientology made the IRS back down. That's balls.
That is balls.
Yeah,
Operation Snow White.
Crazy.
Oh
But
my
yeah,
God.
so
dude.
this guy, this is the main shareholder of Cambridge Analytica, this Vincent Chungwiz. So that's him.
Yeah, people don't realize that. They were bragging about they've been influencing elections for like 30 years or something like that. They like take pride in it. And it's
And
just,
And then furthermore, so an ex-Cambridge Analytica employee just came out in March of this year and said that Cambridge Analytica had hired Black Cube directly. And Black Cube and Cambridge Analytica both denied it in front of the British Parliament when they were called to task. But
is this before or after they sued each other?
I think it was later, I guess. Yeah, it would have been after.
You know, it's like when everyone's like Area 51, it's a fuck sick, blah blah blah. I'm like, I'm like, they sued the U.S. government. People are like, no, they didn't. Then you're like, yeah, this made up area that forever people denied existed. The employees sued the U.S. government. It's so fucking interesting, dude.
Yeah, that reminds me of like there was a court case that found that the government, in fact, did kill Martin Luther King Jr. They actually had a court case and ruled that way. Almost nobody knows that.
What?
Like it's.
We're bringing you back for that one. We're bringing you back.
The FBI did it, and they were sending him blackmailing notes, trying to convince him his wife was cheating on him, and they were trying to like goad him into suicide, basically, and then once he was killed, basically they found the FBI did it. I mean, it was kind of known in the like conspiracy communities or whatever, but yeah, it was found in a court of law.
Does it ever creep you out looking into Black Cube? Because I know, I hang out on the Central Intelligence Agency's website like all the time.
You really do that. That's the weird thing.
I love showing Sam that, and he's like, "You're doing that from my IP address." So only from Sam's. But
let me borrow your computer real quick.
How is your level of paranoia since you've been digging into this?
I mean, it's not a fun thing to look into, but I'm just taking solace in the fact I'm not really speculating here. I'm not like adding fuel to the fire. I'm just showing things that are already known. So it's just, I'm not like creating any new narratives or pushing any crazy stories. I mean, this is literally just like, this is what the news is for people who pay attention.
Yep, dude, that's why I always do. It's like, we don't break any news. We just talk about what's out there. It's the guys who go and like try to find the evidence to prove something. They're the ones that get in trouble. And I'm not trying to make a joke about it. That's literally true. They go wherever the child trafficking is, and they end up the ones who are like,
I love these guys that have money. They can like break all the rules they want, because here they were found, what was it, November 2017, found faking interviews. If I was to like lie just at the DMV, Hold
on, let's get it. Can we get into Romania real quick? I know you want to talk Romania, then we'll get into the fake news real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's hit the Romania thing. So in Romania in April 2016, 2 of the company employees were arrested in Bucharest on suspicions of spying, phishing, and cyber harassing. They were cyber harassing the chief prosecutor of the Romanian National Anti-Corruption Directorate. So the person in charge of anti-corruption measures in Romania. Black Cube was targeting this person, spying, phishing, cyber harassing this person. The 2 employees were eventually convicted on charges of hacking and harassment by the Romanian government. After sentencing, the company reached an understanding with the Romanian authorities, and the 2 employees were magically released and returned to Israel after a few months.
Where else have we heard this? The Israeli art students, right? 40 of them are arrested. They're all fucking released and put on planes and sent back.
How badass do you have to be released from Vlad the Impaler's homeland? This is like Dracula comes from Romania. Bucharest,
right.
Dude. Like,
Transylvania,
Yeah, Jason Bourne couldn't get out of that shit.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
I gotta wonder what kind of understanding they came to, like what exactly happened there.
That's so interesting.
I'm not going to lie. I'm going to completely try to fake some Black Cube credentials
and
just try to walk into like every place in LA. Just flash real quick, Black Cube.
I don't know you. I do not know you, even though we are on the same podcast. I don't know who you are. So they don't play by the rules, right? They like to fake interviews to gain information on people.
Right. Yeah. So this is another thing they got caught doing. In November 2017, Black Cube set up a fake recruitment firm, and they flew employees and former employees of a hedge fund company to London for fake job interviews. Like they had a fake conference for hedge fund people, and they invited and paid for former hedge fund workers to come to the conference, specifically in order to gain proprietary information about the hedge funds they used to work for. So New York Times released a story about this. Black Cube refused to comment, And then in New York State, private investigators are required to be licensed, but the Times could not find a license for Black Cube or BC Strategy, which is their parent company.
Oh my God, dude.
So they don't even exist. They're just shadows.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Legitimate spooks.
Yeah.
Unbelievable,
Yeah.
dude.
And then, just like the Romania thing, if something goes wrong, they've got connections where they can, get those people out of jail and get them back working again. And
Yeah, flash them your card. Flash them the bus pass I'm gonna make.
So tell me a little bit about the Catalyst Capital Group.
Yeah, so another company, another incident, Catalyst Capital Group is a Toronto investment firm. There's also there's another company that's kind of like Black Cube called Psy Group, PSY Group, like psychology. Psy Group is also caught pitching a media manipulation campaign, but this Toronto-based investment firm, Westface Capital, alleges that Catalyst Capital hired Psy Group and Black Cube to basically get them to win this telecommunications bid. So like the government was giving out like tens of billions of dollars telecommunications contract. And this company, a Catalyst Capital Group, hired Black Cube to make sure they win that bid.
Oh my God, dude! It's just like you got to have money to make money, almost, right?
Jeez.
Yeah.
It's just like, and there's some people and you wonder why they look at us like cattle, right? Because they just know how to they play us like a guitar and they make us fucking wail.
Yeah. Yeah, they realized a long time ago that, with cattle, you can just build fences. But with human beings, you don't build fences. It's too obvious. You have to build ideologies. And people get trapped in their ideologies. And that's how you corral people and get them to act certain ways.
Wow, dude. Wow. So they were using shady. They were defaming people. I mean, It's just so interesting, dude. Like, I sometimes wonder, like, who I argue with. Like, when people just come in so hard, like on opinion, I go, oh, this guy can't even be real. Nobody really thinks like, when they comment really hard on comments, like they're just like, oh, this is no way. This is a real person. They never have their picture up. The worst and the meanest comments are always from people who don't have pictures up. They just, and I'm like, oh, you're not a real person. You're just somebody who's been paid to come in there because you found out. Like, I'm sure there's people whose job it is to just go on the internet and find videos and articles in which are pushing a certain narrative in which this company doesn't want, and their job is the counter.
Right. Yeah. And then maybe not even with like information, but just counter by making the environment so uncomfortable that people don't want to like read the comments or go there at all. Okay. So like keeps people away just because it sucks to like interact with those people, not even because they're giving out wrong information or whatever.
Unbelievable. So I want to get into your last two cases you were talking about because they're both very interesting.
Harvey, these are the real meat. This is the meat and potatoes.
Okay.
This is it.
And so we got a little time here. Let's Harvey Weinstein and Rose McGowan. I think this is the most interesting thing. In particular, Rose McGowan, because she is such a lightning rod when it comes to this Me Too movement. She's called out everybody, but yet she still walks the earth. Whereas somebody like Anthony Bourdain, who's called out people, is no longer with us. And we'll get into that, but I just find that very interesting. Why don't you talk about Harvey Weinstein and the Black Cube?
So, we can kind of go over the Harvey Weinstein saga a little bit because there's some interesting pieces with Ronan Farrow. So in November 2017, Ronan Farrow, who's the son of Woody Allen and Mia Farrow.
Is he?
So Ronan Farrow. Yeah, Pulitzer Prize. Oh, are you saying he's not maybe?
Does he look like Woody Allen or does he look just like Frank Sinatra?
Oh, that's interesting. I never heard that.
You got to check out my episode coming out called Cuckapalooza. All right, go on.
All right. Well, so Ronan Farrow reported in the New Yorker that Harvey Weinstein hired Black Cube, and he was kind of the one to break this whole thing, and he won a Pulitzer Prize for that article.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. So, and then if you remember, right when the scandal broke too, there was all these articles of Woody Allen coming out being like, oh, we shouldn't, this shouldn't be a witch hunt. We need to be careful not to like go too crazy with this. And I just found it weird that they were like having all these Woody Allen articles because of, him with his stepdaughter or whatever. Yeah. And so, but looking back, the fact that Ronan Farrow was the one who wrote the article and won the Pulitzer Prize, now it makes sense that Woody Allen was featured so frequently in the news right as it was happening.
What do you think they're trying to get at him? To emotionally like hit him because it's his dad, or like kind of a, oh, you're going to talk
Maybe.
about this, we're going to talk about that.
Maybe, yeah. Or maybe Woody knew something about how this was going down and was trying to, like, calm the waters a little bit. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities, but it's interesting.
It is interesting, dude. So
And then so
Go on.
so using false identities. So people from Black Cube use false identities. Harvey Weinstein hired Black Cube. They used false identities. Private investigators met and started mapping out all these people that might be related to this scandal. So they went after Rose McGowan, was one of the key people who was one of the first accusers of Weinstein as well. And over the course of a year, Weinstein had Black Cube and maybe other agencies as well, quote, target or collect information on dozens of individuals and compile psychological profiles that sometimes focused on their personal or sexual histories. So basically, they're trying to build like just a kind of standard, just like a real deep profile on all these people. But I mean, you listen to some of these quotes from Bourdain, and this was like a month before he died or was killed. He said, there are forces, this is Bourdain speaking, there are forces out there who are really fucking powerful and scary. I had dinner with Rose McGowan, and Rose is telling me, these people are spying on me. People are saying they're my friends, and they're in fact not my friends. They're paid intelligence operatives. And I remember thinking, look, I support you all the way, but in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm not so sure about this. And then later, same interview, this is his last interview, by the way, that came out like 2 weeks after he had died. Which he gave to an Italian news agency, which Italy is where she was caught cheating. Asia Argento was caught cheating. But anyways, so Bourdain also said, I've come to understand traveling around the world, I see good people crushed randomly under the wheel or buy bad things all the time. As I see it happen to friends, not to be too paranoid, but I think they're doing a very effective job on Rose. I don't know when the truth is enough anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. And it's just like we were having a discussion before the show. You had brought up. Listen, if you guys want to hear a wonderful discussion on this, please go to the Higher Side Chats. Put in Magnora 7, and they do a wonderful discussion on this very dark subject. And you were talking about how there's 3 different similar suicides within like what, 4 days?
Yeah, 3-4 days. Yeah.
And how everybody had to be like, that's got to be weird. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you remember when during the election there were all these black men shooting white cops, right? And they were all ex-military, and then they just stopped. And it was all within like 2 weeks of each other, and they haven't happened since. And it's like, okay, people don't realize that there are people who are strong enough, powerful, and dark enough to make these things happen. And now we got these 3 people who, one of them is the sister-in-law or the sister of a comedian. So I'm not going to get into her discussion, but the other 2 in particular, we'll just focus on Bourdain. They die from hangings. But Ryan, you were kind of describing it earlier.
It's not a classic. When we think of hanging, we think of rope and whatnot, hangman's noose. It's not that type of hanging. Could you fill it in exactly how it went down?
Yeah, they're all basically caught. All these people were found hanging from a doorknob. So they weren't even hanging from a high place. So, which means if they did do it themselves, they would have died by asphyxiation rather than like hanging, like breaking your neck or, like actually hanging.
So there, real quick, the scarf doesn't go up in the air, let's say over like a bathroom rod back down to the door. You're saying it is straight from neck, straight. Let's say basically they're on their knees. And
no, they're sitting usually. So, yeah, they're just like in a sitting position on the floor, and then from their neck to the doorknob, like a foot, is all the rope. And I think it would be extremely hard to kill yourself that way. I mean, at some point you'd start to just asphyxiate and take it off. I mean, because you could just stand up at any time.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to be either knocked out dead or knocked out so you couldn't struggle or something
And
Much
then, there's
darker have-
no drugs in Bourdain's system, no drugs in, Kate Spade's system, no drugs in the Dutch Queen sister who died. Like, none of those people had drugs in their system, but they apparently just had a bad day and hung themselves from a doorknob till they choked to death, which makes no sense to me. And I mean, there's even just these quotes from intelligence agencies, from this guy Sawyer, who is in a former CIA, who's saying it's like it's a call signal, it's a calling card, saying that this person was put down because they went against the cabal, basically.
Oh my
So-
God.
And is that because the scarves are usually red in color?
Yeah, a lot of them are red, and I mean the material, like some are with a scarf,
Oh, man.
some are with like a necktie. Bourdain was with a robe from his bathroom robe at the hotel. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't seem. I don't think they killed themselves. It's possible, but I think at least some of them were taken out.
It has to be so completely insane that 3 high-profile people kill themselves in the exact same way in which does not make any sense. That's
Right.
That's the shadiness. And and you guys talked
Yeah.
about on Greg's podcast about and Greg said basically Bourdain was like JFK, like calling out everybody that you don't call out.
Right, because he did an episode on the Armenian genocide, which is like a big no-no.
Let me ask you something. You had mentioned that you didn't think the Armenian government likes people talking about the genocide. Why would that? I mean, I'm Armenian. I had families involved in that.
I think I might have misspoke. I think I meant the Azerbaijani and Turkish governments.
Yeah, for sure.
The people
for
who did it don't want to talk about
course,
it. The
yeah,
victims certainly. Yeah, I think I misspoke.
I
in that
had
moment.
aunts and uncles that were in that whole thing, and
Oh.
it's kind of crazy. I want to get into this because we're running out of little time, but undermining the Iran nuclear deal.
Yeah. Well, before we change, I gotta say.
Go into it. Yeah.
Bourdain put out a tweet that said both Trump and Weinstein used AMI (parentheses Inquirer) and Black Cube (Israeli private intel) to do their dirty work. So Bourdain specifically named Black Cube and AMI. So, and I would also like to say I'm not necessarily saying Black Cube did all this stuff,
Right.
But
Everything's allegedly, and
and I mean they just happen to be in the same places at the same time. It could be a totally different agency. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of hidden parts with how this is going down. But I'm just looking at what is obvious from where we sit.
And you also seem to be in a very positive mind state, so you yourself don't seem to be
well,
anywhere.
that's everybody.
Don't
We're
go
all
close to
happy
any
people.
doorknobs anytime
Yeah,
soon.
I would never. No, I'd
Yeah.
never do anything
I
like
wouldn't.
that.
And then you'd said that he said he would kill himself. It would be by heroin. So
Yeah, he said that in an interview. Yeah, he's like, if I was going to go out, I would go back to heroin, and because it feels awesome, and like, I mean, that's also how our medical system kills people with the morphine, like we were talking about earlier. Most people go into a morphine coma or whatever, are put into one as they die, and so he was just saying the same thing, but with heroin, and so, but yeah, because they're the same drug basically, but. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. This was a guy who had like been to dark places before and kind of fought those demons, and I think he was strong enough to not just I'm having a bad day. I'm gonna.
And real quick, Asia is Asia Aguero. Is that
Argentito?
Argento.
I mean, just talk about bad juju. This woman
Yeah.
most likely was involved in something traumatic as a child. Allegedly, her father was very high up in the Italian film industry. Wouldn't doubt if it was very much like the American film industry. A lot of
Yeah.
dark art shit going on. She basically, I mean, like, you listen to her, man. She's so nuts. Like, she dates him. She fools around with a 17-year-old. He sues her. Bourdain comes and throws in the $300,000 to cover the deal, and then he dies, and then she comes out and blames him for everything. I mean,
I didn't know that 300,000 was before he died. I just heard that recently. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he had paid it out, and she said it was his idea. And it's
Oh, my
just like,
God.
what a psycho, man. Well, sometimes you just never know who you're hooking up with, and this is for both
Yeah.
men and women. So you just never ever know, It's
and then Rose McGowan is going around saying that Asia and Anthony were in a quote open relationship or whatever, but I don't think he knew that. You know what I mean? So
problem is when you are an old man. What was he in his 60s?
Yeah, I think 50s, 60s. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're dating like a 30-year-old. Like
Yeah.
you're dancing with the devil.
Yeah.
Because most women don't want to date guys who are so much higher up. You know, I mean, some do, but it's usually the crazies, and they're phenomenal. They're great in bed, but they, you know, there's some dark arts motherfuckers. You know.
And back to Black Cube, though, like they came out. What's interesting, November 10th, 2017, and apologized for working with Harvey Weinstein. They actually said like, we made a mistake. We're sorry. They're probably still working for him.
Of course
but
they are, dude.
They just came out publicly and were like, "Oh, we're sorry. We won't do that again."
I love that they're apologizing like anyone could do anything to them. It's unbelievable. So let's really quick get into the undermining of the Iran deal.
Yeah, so there's an Iran nuclear peace deal, and in May 2018, so just a few months ago, Black Cube was accused of using false identities to seek damaging information about former Obama administration officials and help undermine the Iran nuclear deal. So as well as spying on high-ranking government officials, they also sent out emails and pretended to be U.S. government officials themselves in order to undermine the Iranian nuclear deal. So when they were first accused, they denied it, and then later they obfuscated it, and then finally they later admitted it once the evidence was overwhelming.
Unbelievable, dude.
So yeah, and they were compiling background information of several high-profile negotiators, including these guys Rhodes and Call, and had their information, their addresses, family numbers, makes of their cars, etc. And then Black Cube agents were instructed to find damaging information about them, including unsubstantiated claims that they had worked closely with Iranian lobbyists before. So they were trying to like paint them as biased, basically, and were personally enriched their policy work in Iran, which they denied. So basically, they're trying to like undermine this nuclear peace deal, just so like my thought is that they're headquartered in Israel, and Israel's trying to expand and take over the region, and part of that is Iran, and so of course they don't want to actually have peace in Iran. They just want to like kick the ball down the road till they see a good opportunity.
The most interesting thing is how like I don't know if you've ever seen like a map of what they call Greater Israel. Have you ever seen that map? It's part of Saudi Arabia. Like, does Saudi Arabia realize like
Yeah, it says that the holy text say from the Euphrates River to the Nile River. So that would be from, like Turkey to Egypt.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, I'm all for peace. I'm all for negotiating to everybody. I mean, and now we got China. Do you think Israel can get their and listen, again, when we talk Israel, we're not talking the Jewish faith. We're not talking Jewish people. I have to say this all the time.
I like Jewish people.
Yeah, we all do. Jewish chicks are fucking hot, and they like to get weird. They're
you stopped yourself from saying claws and Jews in the same sentence, huh? You're like, can Israel get their claws? I mean, like,
no. Yeah,
well, I was thinking
for
that.
sure.
Yeah.
Their claw. Let's say they got their claws in the United States government.
But that question that you proposed to me, go ahead, tell him, because this is a good idea.
What?
Can Israel get embedded into China?
Can they get? I mean, I know they're working with China, but the Chinese are notorious for working with you, getting all your technology, and then kicking you out because Israel could blend in the United States, Canada, Britain, wherever they want to. They can blend in. It's very easy for them. In China, it's impossible. Mm-hmm. At the highest levels of the Chinese government, you can throw a cat and you'll hit a Chinese person. Mm-hmm. You won't get that cat back because it's got teriyaki sauce on it. But but the truth is, it's going to be almost impossible. And in China, if you do like treason, there's no trial. It is like you are dead right there.
Hey Mag, I was following what you tend to highlight on your Set It, and I noticed that you're kind of into the same thing I'm into. I'm wondering how long until Black Cube utilizes DARPA technology like that of Boston Dynamics Atlas or the Handle. Do you think they're going to start using these robots in their spy technology? Because that's the one thing I didn't see pop up yet.
Why do you think they aren't already?
Have you heard about this? Back in May, there was 11 jihadists that were like taken out by the Russians using a robot.
What?
Really? Wow. Mm-hmm. Like a walking robot or like a drone?
Like a little like badass looking little like miniature version of like the Batmobile with an M16 like AK on it.
Wow.
Took out 11
that's
people.
Crazy.
So yeah, that's what we get to look forward to. And I'm glad that you mentioned Alphabet Inc. if we don't ever mention anything more than the Black Cube and Alphabet Inc. and me and Sam park our cars on some railroad tracks a couple weeks from now, you guys take the ball from there and continue to investigate them.
Yeah, we should have somebody who gets this podcast if we both disappear. Yeah, so dude, I mean, then you hear the whole story and we gotta wrap it up here, but the Uranium One deal, the whole thing was to make the Uranium One deal and then make the deal with Iran and then slip them some nuclear, some uranium, let them set up a shop in Syria, okay, and then go, oh, we discovered this in Syria and it's Russia's fault, and that's how we get in the war with Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like sprinkling the crack on the bodies, like the Dave Chappelle joke. You know?
Yeah.
Except
Well, have you seen that YouTube video with Patrick Clausen, who's one of the spokespeople for WINEP, the Washington Institute for Near East Policy?
Oh yeah. Like
have you seen that? Where he's talking, it's creating a false flag to start war with Iran, and he gave historical examples like Gulf of Tonkin and Lusitania, and I mean, that's where these people's minds are at. I mean, they want this war because it's profitable. I mean, if you own a company that manufactures missiles, like, hell yeah, you want as much war as possible. Both sides, you don't care. You just want to sell missiles. And a lot of people are in that position. And, a lot of banks are like loaning money to these weapons manufacturers. And, it's a sustainable business model unless there's a war. And so there's like all these industries that are kind of piggybacking on this whole thing. And it's like they like have to have war or else their industry collapses. And so they will do anything they can do to get us to war, as Patrick Clausen put it. And, there's that quote by Goring of like, people don't want war, that, people just want, like, the best anybody can get out of war is to return home in one piece. Like, nobody wants that. And so you have to goad people into war by, nationalism and by calling people cowards and calling them out if they don't support it. And it's the same way in every country.
And this whole love of John McCain and the liberals, like, I'm keeping notes of all the and some of them are my friends, and I'm going to forgive one or two of them because I love them as people, and it's just the truth. But the love of John McCain from the left is this is a guy they called a racist piece of shit when he was running against Obama. Now he's this loving patriot. Like, it's unbelievable to me the times we live in.
He was one of the biggest architects of the Iraq War, which, all Democrats were opposed to back when Bush was in power. And, now it's just, I don't know. It's just
22 servicemen ex-servicemen in the United States killed himself every fucking day because of the trauma they went through in those fucking unnecessary banker wars.
The lack of help they receive when they get back home.
Yeah, just remember that when you love John McCain and you want to name a highway after him and you want his fucking wife to just remember that, dude. Just remember that. And look into the history of John McCain.
And Americans are paying for like nationalized health care for Iraqis, and meanwhile, like in the United States, our veterans come back home and they're like sleeping in the streets. Like, what is it? Just doesn't even make any sense. It's just all foreign policy, political
bullshit.
It's just ridiculous.
Bullshit.
And it's the thing is, once you see it as such, it's obvious. But a lot of people don't see it that way because they, grow up in this corporate propaganda environment, basically, that teaches them to normalize these kinds of things. And it takes almost a brave person to step outside of that. Like, you got to have some guts, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people are scared. And I
think about moving from this town every fucking day, dude. Every day, moving to Vegas and just fucking doing it out of there because it's just the fucking selling out is so bad for a quick buck and a hope for a fucking chance to sell a TV show, and it just makes me super sad.
It sucks. And I lived abroad for like a year, and the healthcare I got in that country was way better than anything I got here, and way less, like 100 times less expensive.
Unbelievable, dude.
We're going to start doing a lot of shows, and I know that you keep your location secretive, but if we ever happen to pop up in your neighborhood, we'd love to meet you in person, and, we'll keep your secretive basically safe with us. So where could everyone find you on your social media, and if they want to get a hold of you or follow you on Set It?
Just go to setit.net, man. That's where it's all happening.
Well, we're in, and I own $20 in stock, so I got to get behind it, dude. Magnora 7, we love you. Please come on. we'd love to have you on more often. You're a wonderful interview, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you because you sound like one of the most sane people in our fucking realm. You're a fucking G. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming on again. And hopefully it won't be another year till we get you on. We'd love to have you on earlier, bud.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Samurai. I love being here. It's always a pleasure. I love it.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right,
You're a
man.
G.
Take it easy.
Brian, I love you, and we'll talk to you soon, bud.
All right, man. Peace.
The children. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Tinfoil hat.